I've been waiting for this moment for years. Waiting, plotting, building. Every screw, every bolt, every hidden panel in this chamber has my fingerprints on it. I know this place better than I know myself because I created it out of obsession. Out of rage. Out of the scars they left behind. The doors clanged shut behind them like the toll of a bell at the start of an execution. I saw the way they flinched just for a second before covering it up with the same smug arrogance I remembered all too well. They thought they were untouchable then. They think the same now. But they don't understand. Every second that passes belongs to me. I sat in the control room, my face bathed in the glow of a dozen monitors. Every screen showed an angle of the chamber, their restless pacing, their forced laughter, their subtle fear. Some tried to act like they were bored, others cracked nervous jokes, one even pounded his fists against the steel walls as though brute strength could bend what I forged. The room didn't flinch. And neither did I. I leaned forward, whispering to myself, let them sweat. Let them wonder. Let the clock eat away at their nerves before the first trap even begins. The countdown ticked silently in the corner of every screen. 12 hours. They didn't know it yet, but every passing second was part of the game. The air circulation slowed by just a fraction. The temperature climbed 1 degree at a time. The floor plates warmed beneath their shoes. It was subtle, invisible, but enough to make their bodies uneasy. Enough to remind them that something wasn't right. One of them, Marcus, was the first to speak. This is stupid, he barked, his voice bouncing off the steel walls. Some kind of prank. Hidden cameras, maybe. Some idiot thinks this is funny. I smiled in the shadows of the control room. Funny. That was the same word he used when he sold me out. When he handed my future to the very people who burned it. He laughed while I bled. Not anymore. Another one, a woman named Talia, crouched low, pressing her ear to the walls. Her instincts were sharper, always had been. She knew better than to underestimate silence. There's something behind this, she murmured. Something mechanical. She wasn't wrong. Behind the seamless steel were hundreds of hidden gears and motors. A maze waiting to unfold. A predator with steel teeth. I reached out and tapped a single button on the console. The chamber responded instantly. The ground shifted, plates sliding apart to reveal cracks between the floor tiles. A low, almost inhuman groan echoed through the chamber as the walls flexed ever so slightly. The lights dimmed to a blood-red glow. Their laughter stopped. Marcus cursed under his breath, stepping back from the wall as though it might suddenly lunge at him. Talia's eyes darted upward toward the countdown, finally noticing it. The red numbers blazed, 11 hours 53 minutes and 27 seconds. That was when panic first touched their faces. They shouted questions at each other, argued, demanded explanations, but there were none. Not from me. Not from anyone. They were sealed in. Their voices reached me through hidden microphones, and I savored every syllable of desperation. I waited until the arguing hit its peak, then triggered the first trial. A hiss cut through the chamber. Thin, almost invisible gas seeped from vents along the walls. They coughed, fanned their hands, shouting in alarm. Panic rose fast. One tried to cover his nose with his shirt. Another dropped to the ground, thinking the air lower would be clearer. That was the point. Fear is sharpest when it's invisible. Look! Talia shouted, pointing to the far end of the chamber. A new opening had revealed itself, a doorway glowing with faint light. The first challenge. They rushed toward it, but as soon as they stepped inside, the door slammed shut behind them with the thunder of a vault locking forever. The chamber was now silent again, except for the hiss of gas filling the empty space they left behind. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screens that now showed the narrow passage they had entered. Its walls were lined with rotating gears, massive teeth grinding against each other. The only way forward was a bridge of thin, crumbling platforms that swayed with every step. "Let's see how brave you are now," I whispered. Marcus stepped first, shouting bravado he didn't feel. "It's just a trick. Just balance, nothing more." His voice cracked on the last word as the platform wobbled beneath his weight. Sparks flew from the gears below as they chewed steel against steel, ready to swallow anyone who fell. The others hesitated, clinging to the walls. The clock above them still ticked mercilessly. 11 hours 46 minutes and 2 seconds. Time wasn't waiting. Neither was I. I adjusted the controls and the gears below rotated faster. The grinding grew louder, sharper, more violent. The platforms shook with each collision, and Marcus nearly lost his balance. His shout of anger echoed through the passage. "You can't do this," he screamed into the void. "We're not your playthings." I leaned closer to the microphone, pressed the button, and finally let my voice echo through the chamber for the first time. "Oh, Marcus," I said, my words dripping like acid into his ears. "This is no game. This is justice. And you're not even past the first hour." His eyes widened. The others froze. For the first time they knew the truth. They were trapped. They were being watched. And the one watching wanted revenge. Marcus froze at the sound of my voice. He knew that voice. They all did. For years they laughed while I fell. For years I carried their betrayals like chains around my neck. And now those same chains coiled around them. Talia's eyes snapped to the ceiling, scanning for speakers. "He's watching us," she whispered. "Everywhere." I let the silence that followed dig into them like a knife. I wanted them to feel it, the weight of being prey. The clock above the passage glared down at them, merciless and red. 11 hours 39 minutes and 12 seconds. They had less than 12 minutes to cross the bridge of rotting platforms before the gears tore it away. Marcus went first, gritting his teeth as the platform shuddered under him. Every step shook, every sound of grinding metal echoed his heartbeat. He didn't dare look down, but the others did, and their faces drained of color. The gears below weren't just moving. They were alive, turning faster and faster, as though hungry for flesh. Behind him, two others, Jace and Ryan, argued about who should go next. Their voices cracked with fear. "You go," Jace hissed, shoving Ryan toward the platform. "No way. You first." Ryan shoved back. "It always happens this way. Fear is the great divider. It strips away loyalty, friendship, even blood." Talia ignored them both. She crouched low, studying the platforms, the gears, the rhythm of their grinding. She was always sharper, always calculating. I remembered how she once outplayed me with that same look in her eyes. Not this time. She pressed her palms to the trembling metal, closed her eyes, and then stepped out onto the bridge. Each movement was measured, timed between the groaning shifts of the gears below. Unlike Marcus, she didn't stumble. She glided. The others noticed. And panic bloomed. "She's making it across," Ryan shouted, his fear cracking into desperation. "If she gets to the end, what if the door closes?" Jace's eyes burned with paranoia. And just like that, the fragile alliance shattered. Jace shoved Ryan hard, nearly toppling him off the platform. Ryan screamed, clawing at the edge, his feet dangling over the hungry gears below. The sound of grinding drowned his pleas as he clung on for life. Marcus looked back, eyes wide. "Pull him up. He'll die." But Jace's expression twisted. "That's one less person slowing me down." And with a single kick, Ryan's grip slipped. His scream tore through the chamber, then cut off as his body vanished into the grinding maw below. The gears roared, a spray of red mist filling the air before swallowing him whole. The silence that followed was worse than the scream. Marcus's face drained of blood. Talia didn't even look back. She kept moving, step by careful step, her eyes fixed on the faint glow at the far end of the passage. Survival, nothing else. I leaned closer to the microphone. "One down," I said, my voice cold, steady. "The gears are still hungry." Jace froze, his breath ragged, his face pale. He realized in that moment what I wanted him to realize, that every betrayal, every selfish act, every drop of cruelty would be punished here. Marcus reached the far side, collapsing against the wall, sweat pouring down his face. Talia followed, calm but tense, her mind still racing. Jace staggered across next, shaking violently. He didn't look at the others. He didn't dare. When the last platform collapsed behind him, the passage sealed itself with a thunderous slam. The chamber was quiet again, save for the ticking countdown. 11 hours 2 minutes and 45 seconds. They had survived the first hour. Barely. I switched the feed to the next chamber. It looked almost serene at first. A wide, circular room with smooth stone floors and walls painted with faded murals. In the center stood a table with 4 chairs. On the table, a deck of cards. Marcus laughed bitterly. "A game? He wants us to play cards." Talia shook her head, eyes darting to the ceiling. "Nothing's that simple." She was right. As they approached the table, the walls groaned again, shifting ever so slightly. Panels slid open, revealing 4 massive steel syringes mounted on mechanical arms. Each one filled with a thick, black liquid that pulsed like it was alive. Marcus stumbled back. "What the hell is that?" The speakers crackled, my voice cutting through the air. "Each of you will draw a card. The one with the lowest number gets injected. The liquid will burn through your veins until you collapse. Slowly. Painfully. But if you refuse to play, all of you die." Their eyes widened in unison. The horror of choice washed over them. Talia clenched her fists. "You're insane." "No," I whispered, though they couldn't hear it. I'm patient. Marcus's hands shook as he reached for the deck. Fine. I'll do it. Jace grabbed his wrist. Don't touch it. What if that's the trap? Marcus ripped free, snarling. You already killed Ryan. You want more blood on your hands. Talia's voice cut through them, sharp as a blade. He's not lying. You did push him. I saw it. We all did. Jace's face twisted with guilt, anger, fear. He looked from Talia to Marcus to the deck of cards. The clock above ticked mercilessly, 10 hours 55 minutes and 33 seconds. Finally, with trembling fingers, Marcus flipped the first card. A 7. Relief washed over his face, but only for a moment, because next Talia drew. A 10. Her jaw clenched, her mask unbroken. Jace's turn. His hand hovered, shaking violently before he finally pulled one. A 3. His breath caught. His knees buckled. No, 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 please, please. The syringes whirred to life, locking onto his body like predators scenting blood. He screamed, bolting for the door, pounding his fists against it, begging for mercy. I leaned forward, my finger hovering over the override. But I didn't press it. This was his fate. The arms lunged, stabbing into his flesh, black liquid flooding into his veins. His screams turned into choked gurgles as his body convulsed, skin blistering, veins turning dark. He collapsed, twitching, then stilled. Silence fell again. Marcus covered his mouth, gagging. Talia's eyes hardened, colder than ever. The clock ticked. 10 hours 48 minutes and 12 seconds. And I whispered into the mic. 2 down. And the night is still young. The first hour passed slowly, like a blade being sharpened. At first they laughed. Of course they did. They always laughed at everything I did. Nice trick, Marcus scoffed, pacing along the steel walls, his broad shoulders brushing against the glowing panels. You think some walls and flashing lights can scare us? He slammed his fist against the door, expecting it to give way. It didn't even rattle. The others followed his lead, kicking, punching, pushing. Their arrogance was predictable. That's what made it so easy to build the perfect cage for them. They believed nothing could hold them. They believed they were untouchable. I leaned back in my chair in the control room, fingers brushing over the console. Cameras flickered across my screens, catching every sneer, every nervous glance. I could almost smell the doubt starting to creep into them. Not yet fear, but doubt. The seed had been planted. Then the first shift began. The walls hummed and moved. Not dramatically, not enough to make them panic, just a subtle motion like the room was breathing. The lights dimmed to a faint crimson glow. In the corner, a thin stream of water began trickling from a pipe, pooling on the metallic floor. Yo, what's that? Jason muttered, stepping back. He was always the paranoid one. I remembered him best of all, the one who laughed the loudest when they set me up, the one who whispered poison into everyone's ears. Marcus brushed him off. It's nothing. Just a leak. Stop acting like a coward. But the water didn't stop. It kept flowing. Slowly. Relentlessly. And the room shrank. Not visibly, not instantly, but with every minute the walls pressed closer. By the second hour it was noticeable. Chairs scraped across the floor. Their laughter stopped. Now they argued. I leaned closer to the screens, my smile spreading. They pushed against the walls, searching for hidden seams. They tried to climb the corners, lifting one another to see if there was an escape above. There wasn't. Everything they touched only confirmed the truth. This room was alive. And I was its heart. From the microphone, I finally let my voice echo through the chamber. Comfortable? They froze. For a moment, silence pressed down heavier than the walls. Then Jason spun in circles, searching for a speaker. Who the hell is that? Show yourself. I chuckled. The sound was warped, amplified, stretching through the walls. You don't recognize me? That hurts. After everything you've done, after everything you've taken? Who is this? Marcus barked. His fists clenched, veins bulging. You think you can play games with us? You're dead the second we get out of here. Out? I repeated softly. You think there's an out? The water climbed higher, reaching their boots now. They shifted uncomfortably, still trying to convince themselves it was a trick. But their voices betrayed them. There was no conviction left, only forced bravado. This is revenge, I said, my voice turning sharp. Do you remember? Years ago you dragged me into that alley. You told me I was worthless. You laughed while I bled. You left me broken. I swore that day I would return. That you would feel what I felt. Recognition flickered across Jason's face. His jaw dropped. No, it can't be. Believe it, I said. Because this machine, This nightmare is your reflection. Every hour will strip away your strength, your pride, your lies. Until there's nothing left. Marcus roared, punching the nearest wall. His knuckles split open. The steel didn't even dent. The blood dripped into the rising water. The third hour came. The room shifted again. The air vents rattled and hot steam hissed from the corners, filling the chamber with a suffocating heat. The walls pressed even closer. The water reached their knees now, dark and murky, reflecting the crimson glow like a pool of blood. They shouted, they cursed, they threatened. But none of it mattered. The cameras caught everything, the cracks in their armor, the flickers of fear. Then the begging began. Wait, Jason stammered, his voice trembling. Listen, we didn't know. We were kids. We didn't mean it. We didn't. Don't lie to me, I hissed, my hand tightening on the console. I remember every word. Every laugh. Every kick. You knew exactly what you were doing. Marcus tried to silence him, but Jason shoved him away. The group fractured. The unity they had always flaunted was gone, dissolving faster than the water rising around them. By the fifth hour, they were shivering despite the heat, clinging to the walls, arguing over what to do. The water was up to their waists. The ceiling seemed lower, pressing down with invisible weight. And me? I sat in my chair calm. Watching. Waiting. Relishing every second. Because the clock was still ticking. And they hadn't even seen the real trap yet. The 12th hour was almost here. On the massive digital clock above the steel doors, red numbers blinked relentlessly. 11 hours 32 minutes and 9 seconds. 11 hours 32 minutes and 8 seconds. 11 hours 32 minutes and 7 seconds. They had less than 30 minutes. The room was no longer recognizable. What had once looked like a giant warehouse had twisted into a nightmare of metal and smoke. The walls had moved so many times that corridors now bent into each other, creating dead ends and endless loops. Flames licked from vents in the floor. Water gushed through cracks in the walls, rising higher with every passing minute. The air was thick with the stench of burning steel and sweat. And my enemies, the people who once laughed at me, betrayed me, left me broken, now looked like shadows of themselves. Their arrogance was gone. Their confidence had rotted away. They were coughing, drenched, bruised. Some limped, others crawled. Their eyes darted to the cameras in the corners as if searching for mercy. But I had none left to give. I leaned forward in my chair, watching every angle on the monitors. My fingers hovered over the controls, and for the first time in years I smiled. This was it. The moment I had been building toward all along. They tried to rally one last time. The leader, the same one who once orchestrated my downfall, shouted over the chaos. We just have to find the exit. There has to be a way out. He wouldn't trap us here forever. But his words no longer carried power. The others no longer looked at him with trust. They looked at him with hatred. You brought us here, one screamed, voice breaking. You told us we'd be safe, another shouted, grabbing him by the collar. The leader shoved them back, desperation flashing in his eyes. Shut up. Shut up and follow me. I laughed quietly in the control room. Safe? He promised them safety? I pressed a button and the floor panels in front of them shifted, opening into a deep chasm. Steam hissed upward. They froze. One step further and they'd be swallowed whole. The leader stumbled back, terrified. For the first time he realized the truth. There was no safety. Not for him. Not for any of them. 11 hours 59 minutes and 30 seconds. The clock was almost done. The room was fully awake now. The trap I had built was alive, breathing, grinding its gears toward the finale. Walls began to close in, slowly, painfully. The water reached their knees. The lights flickered, plunging them into darkness before sparking back on. Sirens wailed. The sound of grinding metal filled the air. They screamed, begged, clawed at the walls. Please, let us out. We're sorry. We'll do anything. I leaned closer to the microphone, my voice echoing through hidden speakers. Anything? I asked calm. The sound of my voice froze them in place. You think words can undo what you did to me? You think apologies can erase years of betrayal? The leader shouted back, desperate. You're insane. This is murder. I pressed another button. Gas hissed into the chamber, forcing them to cough and stumble. The water climbed higher, now at their waists. Murder? I whispered into the mic. No. This is justice. This is revenge. And when the clock strikes 12, you'll finally understand what you stole from me. 11 hours 59 minutes and 50 seconds. The leader tried one last time, pounding on the steel doors, screaming until his voice broke. The others turned on him, fists flying, rage exploding as the fear consumed them. The cameras showed everything: chaos, violence, betrayal. Exactly what they had done to me years ago. But now it was happening to them. 11 hours 59 minutes and 55 seconds. 5 seconds left. I stood from my chair, staring at the monitors, heart pounding. This was it. 11 hours 59 minutes and 58 seconds. I hit the final switch. The lights went out. The clock struck 12. A deafening boom echoed as the steel doors slammed shut forever, sealing the room in eternal darkness. The cameras went black one by one, their feeds cutting out until only static remained. Silence. For the first time in years, silence filled the control room. I stood there, hands trembling, not from regret, not from hesitation, but from release. It was done. The trap had closed. And with it, my past. I stepped back from the control panel, staring at the blank screens. My enemies were gone. Their screams had faded into nothing. But my revenge was not just about destroying them. It was about reclaiming myself. They had thought they could bury me, break me, erase me. But tonight I proved them wrong. Every hour of their suffering, every second of their fear, was a mirror of what they once made me feel. And now balance had been restored. I walked out of the control room into the night air. For the first time in years, the weight on my chest lifted. The trap was silent. The past was dead. And I was finally free.